um, with some events that went down in Russia, um, and some reports. We're gonna pull it up here. Uh, Welcome to the Brother Ill Show, breaking on Brother Ill. Let's see here. We got Ukrainian drone strike. I mean, this was reported about 6 hours ago. Um, this is crazy. Ukrainian drone strike. Let's see here. Um, Ukrainian drone strikes a major military depot. Um, and this is reported from AP News. So it hit a military depot in Russia town northwest of Moscow. Let's see what we got. So in Kiev, Ukraine, Ukrainian drone strikes a large military depot in a town deep inside Russia overnight, causing a huge fire and forcing some residents to evacuate. Ukrainian official and Russian news reports said Wednesday at least 13 people were injured. Russia's health ministry added. Meanwhile, a senior U.S. diplomat said Ukrainian President Zelensky has a workable plan to end the war. Now, in its third year, although its details have not been publicly disclosed, Ukrainian claimed the strike destroyed military warehouses in Toropets, a town in Russia, Tver region, about 380 kilometers, 240 miles northwest of Moscow, and about 500 kilometers, 300 miles from the border with Ukraine. The attack was carried out by Ukraine's security service along with Ukraine's intelligence and special operation forces. A key security official told the Associated Press, speaking on the conditions of anomaly because he was not authorized to discuss the operation. According to officials, the depot has Iskander and Taka U missiles, as well as glide bombs and artillery shells. He said the facility caught fire in the strike and was burning across an area 6 kilometers, about 4 miles wide. Among the destroyed ammunition were North Korean KN-23 short-range ballistic missiles. Another official and Ukrainian intelligence office told AP he also was not authorized to comment publicly and didn't provide evidence to support his claim. Russia and North Korea signed a landmark pact in June that envisioned mutual military assistance between Moscow and Pyongyang. More than 100 domestically produced exploding drones were developed in the attack, or should I say deployed in the attack, excuse me, on the depot. So more than 100 domestically uh, produced exploding drones were deployed in the attack on the depot. The Ukrainian intelligence official added. Russia state news agency RII Novosti quoted regional authorities as saying air defense systems were working to repel a massive drone attack on Turapets, which has a population of about 11,000. The agency also reported a fire in the evacuations and the health ministry and said 13 people were hospitalized in the region after the attack. Tver region governor Igor Rudinya later said all evacuees could return home. Successful Ukrainian strike deep inside Russia have become more common as Kyiv developed its drone technology. Zelensky also is seeking approval from Western nations for Ukraine to use the sophisticated weapons they are providing to hit targets inside Russia. So Western leaders have balked at that, fearing that they could be dragged into the conflict. Part of Kyiv's strategy is targeting of military equipment, ammunition, and infrastructure deep inside Russia, as well as making civilians feel some of the consequences of the war that is being fought largely inside Ukraine. The swift push by Ukrainian forces into Russia Kerch border region last month fits into the plan, which apparently seeks to compel Russian President Vladimir Putin to back down. Putin, however, has shown no signs of that and has been trying to grind down Ukraine's resolve through attritional warfare and also sap the West support for Kyiv by drawing out the conflict. That has come at a price. However, as the UK Defense Ministry estimated, the war has probably killed or wounded more than 600,000 Russian troops. On Tuesday, Putin ordered the country's military to increase its number of troops by 180,000 to a total of 1.5 million by December the 1st. Zelensky announced his war plans in his nightly address on Monday, saying it's 90% ready and will be presented to allies over the next week. He said Ukraine's plan for victory includes not only battlefield goals, but also diplomatic and economic wins. The plan has been kept under wraps, but the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas Greenfield, said at a news conference Tuesday that Washington officials have seen it. We think it lays out a strategy and a plan that can work, she said, adding that the United States will bring it up with other world leaders at the UN General Assembly in New York next week. She did not comment on what the plan contained. Excuse me. And so we got a number. I mean, what do you guys think about that? I mean, we're in a situation here where you're talking about a major, I don't know if you want to consider it major, but a strike inside of Russia, which was, or which is, or was, I don't know, the red line for Russia. I don't know. I don't know. I do know what the president of Russia's stance is with regards to the special military operation. So I don't know. I don't know at all. You tell me. I think it's absolutely dangerous. And I'm concerned, right? Because we're involved in some kind of way, shape, or form, from supplying weapons, intelligence, technology, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. Is this pushing us closer to a World War III? I hope not. I don't know. But there has been plenty of reports that indicates that we need to get to a super fast peace immediately. And this is some of the stuff that President Trump was talking about. More than 100 Ukrainian drones were involved in the attack on the ammunition warehouse. The world is quickly heading towards nuclear war. You know, that's what I was saying. Well, I don't want to say that's what I was saying, but that's what I was like, wow, that's what Putin has been saying. What they are willing to do if they feel threatened, if Russia feels threatened. So with attack on the inside of Russia, I mean, what does that say? You know, it's not a laughing matter at all. It's more.
The United States has let the Middle East get totally out of control. Really bad things are happening, all easily within our power to stop. Could lead actually to catastrophe if not handled with strength and precision. Same is true with Russia, Ukraine, and maybe even more so. We have to fix our country. We have to bring peace. Our nation is in dire trouble. I will fix it. Ukraine, and maybe even more so, we have to fix our country. We have to bring peace. Our nation is in dire trouble. I will fix it.
I will fix it. I love my baby. I will fix it. Attack on Russian military. Donald Trump says Kamala Harris is authorizing an attack on Russia using American weapons by Ukraine. This would mean that U.S. and NATO are at war with Russia. Kamala is a warmonger and is leading us into World War III. Wow. I mean, this is some This is some. I don't know. There's definitely some breaking news now. Russia was just attacked with a direct energy weapon after the Tucker Carlson and Putin interview released. People say anything. Video shows the sheer savagery of the Russian attack on as 3 cruise type missiles are filmed incoming and striking targets in the middle of the city. Massive drones attacked on multiple Russian regions. Ongoing explosions reported, officials claim. Wow, 13 American heroes. That's August 26th. I don't know, man. This is a very, very interesting turn of events.
You got my charger.
I don't know, bro. I don't know. Are they authorizing attacks on Russia? I don't know. But I just know it was an attack on Russia. And they lean on us for guidance, I would say. Some kind of guidance or approval based on what we just read. Wow. We need some people in there that's not, that's you know, that's like looking for peace. How do we get to that?
White House and win big in November. Fight for my kids, and I know that there is. And because of each one of you, he's going to be back in the White House and win big in November. You know, I stand here tonight as
But with many auto plants into our country, producing 4 times.
country, and yet you keep fighting. You never give up. The reason that you're going to win in November is because America needs a fighter. And we've never needed a fighter more, and we've never had somebody more qualified to step in and lead our country than you. I'd love for you to tell us, why do you want to be president, and why do you continue fighting even after they keep attacking you every single day?
So we ran. Thank you, everybody. A lot of love in this room. I love you. You love me. And you love Sarah. So we ran in 2016, and it was amazing. It was amazing, and we won. We then ran in 2020, and we did much better than 2016. People don't like to hear it, you know, oh, he's a conspiracy theorist, you know. We got millions and millions more votes. We did much better. It wasn't even a contest. I was telling one of the papers, they said, what was the difference? I said, well, the difference is we did much, much better the second time. But we had a lot of things happen. We know what those things are. So what difference? Because now in like 48 days or whatever it might be, we're going to do something that will be, I don't think it's going to shock the world, actually. I think the world is going to be maybe prepared already. In Europe, they want it to happen. Even though they would not prefer dealing with me in terms of the economics, they still want it to happen because the whole world is blowing up, and they know it's not going to blow up if I'm president here. But so we did great. And honestly, if I didn't do great, if we know what happened, and if that didn't happen, if I didn't do well in 2020, I wouldn't even think about doing this. But we did phenomenally well, and bad things happened. And we're not going to let it happen again. And now I'll tell you, so 2016, a lot of spirit. 2020, we had unbelievable spirit. And then we got let down because what happened should never be allowed to happen in this country again. But I have never seen the spirit like I've seen right now, for this race. Never, ever. Never seen anything like it. It blows it away from 2016, from 2020. And basically, it's very simple. You're saying what? We're going to seal the border immediately. We're going to drill, baby, drill. You know, we're going to drill at a level. We're going to bring your energy prices down. We're going to try and get rid of a lot of that big lump of inflation that this administration has given us. And I have to say that President Biden called me yesterday. It was very nice. We had a very nice conversation. I appreciated that he called about, you know, what happened the other day. And he says, he's committed. He's committed. No, and today, a little while ago, I got a very nice call from Kamala. No, it was very nice. It was very nice. It was very, very nice, and we appreciate that. But we have to take back our country. We have to win. We're going to win, and we're going to make America great again. That's all there is to it. Very simple, right?
I think it's safe to say that this crowd will all be voting for you.
You know, when I think of this state, it's so sad. Years ago, I was given, thank you very much, but years ago, I was given an award as like Man of the Year or something from an area that nobody knew, and the press said, oh, it never happened. Well, then it did happen. They found out where it was, but it was like 15 years ago. A beautiful area, but nobody remembered it. Nobody remembered it all. All of a sudden, like through a miracle, they found out it did exist, and it was there. And I had the speech, and the speech was, don't let them take your automobile industry away. They're taking your automobile industry away. And I don't know why you do it. Now, I wasn't a politician. I was an entrepreneur. I was a real estate developer, doing great, having a lot of fun, doing a much simpler life than this. Who would think that a developer's life is simple, but it's a lot simpler than this. But I said, don't let them do that, because here I am in Michigan, and I was getting an award, and I'm making a speech. I'm saying, what am I going to say? But I just watched Common Sense. I saw them leaving for Mexico, leaving for China. Do you know that right now, and they weren't building them with me, they weren't building anything in Mexico having to do with cars with me, because I said, if you build it, we're going to put a 200%, you're not going to sell one car into this country. But right now, they're building some of the largest auto plants anywhere in the world ever built. I have a friend that does that for a living, very good at it. He's the best, I think. And he's actually a contributor, a supporter, but he builds the plants. And I say, you know, I'd like to go see a plant, a really great auto plant. You know, it's amazing technology, amazing what they do, really incredible, the amount of automobiles they can produce and the size of these things. I'd like to see a real modern plant. And he's the one that does them. And I said, so where would we go? I was hoping he'd say Detroit or someplace up here. But anywhere in this country, I'll take anywhere in this country, right? So will you, my greatest guy right over here. Stand up, will you, please? He's such a great guy. Oh, hi, everybody. We're going to bring him back. We're going to bring him back. We're not just going to keep, you know, you're losing your jobs, the whole thing, but just, so they're building. So I said, where would I go? And let's go take a look at a beauty. He said, well, we'll have to go to Mexico. I said, wait a minute, I'm not interested. No, I want to know here. He said, here we don't build top of the line. We build smaller plants. We build, we just, you know, there's just not that kind of a thing. And I said, isn't it sad? He feels that too. You know, he's a United States guy. But he said, if you want to see the big ones, you're going to have to go to Mexico. They're owned and built by China in Mexico. And there are a number of them going up right now. And they think they're going to make their cars there, and they're going to sell them across our line. And we're going to take them, and we're not going to charge them tax. We're going to charge them, I'm telling you right now, I'm putting a 200% tariff on, which means they're unsellable. Unsellable in the United States. And then you wonder why it gets shot at, right? You know, only consequential presidents get shot at. When I say something like that, you have countries saying this guy, but what can you do? You have to do what you have to do, right? We have to be brave. Otherwise, we're not going to have a country left. So what's happening is they're building these massive auto plants, and they think they're going to make tens of thousands of automobiles and sell them in here. No tax, no nothing. It's not going to happen. When you put on tariffs are the greatest thing ever invented. You know, I took in $467 billion from China. Nobody else took in anything, and China's economy is not even doing that well. And Biden, you know, they have not been able, and Kamala, they have not been able to take those tariffs off because there's so much money. And frankly, if they did take them off, this country would be flooded with Chinese cars. You don't have the Chinese cars. We put a pretty good tariff on. It was going to be lifted at some point. Then we had COVID. We did a tremendous job in COVID. We gave you a stock market that was higher than just prior to COVID coming in. And we did a great job. We never got credit. We got credit for the best economy maybe ever. We got credit for having defeated ISIS and having rebuilt our military. We shouldn't have given, Sarah, we shouldn't have given $85 billion worth of equipment to the Taliban, to Afghanistan. I think the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. That whole thing was the most, when we were leaving with me. I was the one that got it down to the right number. We were going to keep the big air base, which is exactly 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. Think of that, 1 hour away. And we gave it up. We just gave it up. One of the biggest, one of the most, we spent billions and billions of dollars many years ago. The runways can hold more weight than any runway ever built. Think of that. They're, I think, 19,000 feet long, which is, 3 times what a normal runway would be. It's called Bagram. And we were going to keep that because of China, not because of Afghanistan, 1 hour away from where they make their nuclear weapons. So that was a good one. We left, and the way we got out was so embarrassing. And because of that, first of all, 13 dead soldiers. I've gotten to know their families. They're incredible families, but they'll never be the same. Many badly injured, Nobody, Sarah, nobody ever talks about the soldiers that are badly injured. They talk about 13 dead, and we always have to say that, number one, and great families. But nobody ever mentions the fact that some of the soldiers were hurt so badly, the arms, the legs, the face, like obliteration. We left American citizens behind, and they're not too happy, I can imagine. But if they're living, and we also gave them $85 billion worth of the best military equipment, all beautiful, brand new, between the goggles and the planes and the armor-plated cars. We gave them armor-plated trucks and cars and vehicles, and so much. And they're one of the largest sellers now today of military equipment in the world. They're selling this stuff. 777,000 rifles and guns. Think of that. How do you have that anyway? Who would put that? We have 71,000 trucks and cars, and again, many of them armor-plated. So what happened is when Russia looked at that, they said, we're going to invade. We're going to go into Ukraine. If that didn't happen, I don't think, and I guarantee you, if the election were a straight election, we won that election, we should have won that election, everybody knew we won the election, they would have never attacked. Putin never would have attacked, but the oil prices got driven up at $100 a barrel. He made money. He's the only guy who fought a war, and you make money fighting a war, but it got driven up because of their bad energy policies. But when he saw that, and you wouldn't have had, think of this, you wouldn't have had, how different would the world be? You wouldn't have had Ukraine being attacked by Russia. You wouldn't have had October 7th in Israel, where that horrible situation took place because Iran was essentially broke. They had very little money, and we would have made a great deal with them. All we want is we don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. That's all we want. We don't want you to have a nuclear weapon. We would have made a good deal with Iran. They would have been happy. And I think they're going to end up being very unhappy, but it's very dangerous. They're very close to a nuclear weapon. And the other thing, you wouldn't have had inflation. You wouldn't have had inflation because inflation was driven up by their bad energy policy. And you remember your gasoline started going up to $5 and $6 a gallon. And then what happened is they said, oh, we're going to get killed. We have an election. We're going to get killed. And they went back to my policy. So they went back to the same. What they don't, and they say, we produce the same amount as Trump. Well, they went right back to my policy, or you would have had $25 a gallon gasoline. So they went back. What they don't say is, though, I would have been producing 4 times as much. And I took us from third into first place by a lot. But we have more liquid gold under our feet than any other country in the world, including Saudi Arabia, including Russia. And we would have been so dominant in energy. We would have, we were that because of China. Not.
I've been saying this time and time and time and time again. Time and time and time and time again. This is the first time in history, U.S. history, modern day or contemporary history, that a president has spoken to the people in a plain language, that we all can apprehend this language. He's talking about energy policy. You got to understand, to run a country, to run a nation, to run your household, to run a business, it requires energy, period. Energy. Then you associate that to inflation, because what happens is we go from energy dependent. We depending on a third party to supply us energy. Another entity to supply us energy. That came to an end, a screeching halt. Those policies were eradicated under President Trump, under that administration, right? So we went from purchasing energy to producing our own energy and becoming a competitor. You know what I mean? Supporting our industries here to create the competition. And this was a part of the economic strategy. So we're not dependent upon Saudi Arabia. We're not dependent upon, and our allies is not in Europe are not dependent upon, or should I say the U.S. allies in Europe is not what they call the Western powers. It's not dependent upon purchasing their energy units from Russia and from other sources like OPEC, Saudi Arabia, etc. Right? So we're not dependent upon that. So if we're dependent, right? If we're getting more than 65 to 70, like Germany was getting 70% of their energy units from Russia, but they so-called need us to protect them from Russia. So it's like, it's not making sense here. So this is what drives the energy prices down at home, because now we go from paying for energy to producing our own energy. So it automatically is going to drive prices down here at home. It costs you less to pay for gas and other forms of energy because we made a better decision. Yeah, that's a great business decision. How do we put money back into Americans' pockets? How do we become an asset to Americans? Right? This is what the American First policy looks like when it costs you less at the pump, right? Because and your country is stronger and it's making more money, which is costing you less energy. So you working less and still making more money. That's just how it go. Why would I work harder, right, instead of working smarter? Why would I jog when I can just get in the jet and go there? Like, let's make it make sense. Why am I purchasing energy and I got my own unlimited energy? I got twice as much as Saudi and Russia combined. Now you're talking about, you got to understand the petrodollar agreement that came to a termination under the current so-called administration. So the Saudis decided not to go back to doing business with us in that same form of relationship that they had for, a lot of decades, for a while, for a long time, which forces consumers that's purchasing oil from them to have to get U.S. dollars in order to basically purchase the oil. So it made both parties filthy rich, very wealthy with that agreement in place. It created a lot of security, a lot of economic security and prosperity for a very long time. It created a very powerful axis, a very powerful, man. It was a great relationship. It was very intelligently leveraged. And now behold, Trump comes in and said, wait a minute, the world has changed. People have decided to go into different directions for various reasons. So what are we doing to protect our interests here? What are we doing to protect our interests? Why are we still we got to wait on India and all these other China and all the other places to give us medicine and materials, and we need this from our energy from over here. No, we had to, reorganize. That system was bankrupt, obviously. Couldn't do business that way anymore. So that's what generated the new policies. There was a new administration that came in with a background of understanding how to balance these things out. It's more to President Trump, but the particular topic is the energy units and inflation. So our policies, the Biden-Harris so-called administration, they got in, and the first thing they did was eradicated the Trump era policies with respect to the energy policies, which took us into an energy independent, dominant capacity on the world stage, because we could supply our allies with energy and other countries with energy. Why are we not doing this? Why are we in other nations taking their stuff and we got our own stuff? So he pulled us out of that Afghanistan crap, or started the process. And he's going to talk about that. I'm pretty sure he's already talks about that. But he sat down with the head of the Taliban and said, look, this is the arrangement that we got put together. We're going to get up out of here. And he exposed George Bush and them for what they did over in Iraq. So we understand how we got to a place, and then we understand under the Trump administration how we got out of that place. We transitioned from that place. And this is what we was talking about, making America great again, because America, or should I say in this case, the United States of America, the United States, the Constitutional Republic, is an independent nation. Independent, not dependent upon adversaries and other nations to supply America. No. This is the biggest and greatest economy. Now I would say the biggest, because China's supposed to be, I don't know, but it's the two of the largest economies, China and America, the United States, and the subject matter is energy. And so under that clean, what they call that, the Green New Deal, what we call the climate hoax, and they call it climate change agenda, and this, and which generated the Green New Deal, which is the policies under the current administration to force and mandate that basically the end of fossil fuel and all of that stuff. And this is how we got to this inflation capacity, right? And where you got this rapid inflation, rising rates, it's just destroying the communities of America, especially the ones that's not, the wealthier communities. And so, which we always going to feel that first. These smaller communities are going to feel the burden first of inflation, or anything that has a negative impact to the United States as a whole. And so the energy matters. Trump drove, under his policies, he drove down energy prices because we increased production of us being able to produce our own energy and sell it to the world, right? And so therefore we entered the market and we became a competitor, right? A competitor to be reckoned with, right? And this is also increases the value of our dollar as well, because it's a physical commodity that's backing it, right? And we get into that other stuff in a minute. But this was a great measure by President Trump, because it kept these countries that were hostile or deemed hostile countries in check, because they're, greatest, like what they sell in there, oil producing nations, right? And so a lot of, countries that's deemed to be hostile towards America, had an issue with making some money because we're in the market, dominating the market. It's called energy dominant. And then we got the tariffs, and and we also became debt collectors. We start picking up all that money from NATO. We went at the UN as far as the what was that we had pulled up out of WHO, the World Health Organization. Remember when Biden got in, he said, "Oh, we're back, and because we were like the number one funder for WHO, and the intel that was coming down from WHO was just terrible. It was just terrible. It was terrible. People probably forget that really quick, but the World Health Organization was terrible in how they was producing their information for other world leaders to be able to understand what's happening and make decisions. And so we pulled up out of there. And so Trump did a magnificent job on the world stage. But the issues was we had a bunch of problems here at home, engineer issues. Like this was done on purpose to create confusion and distract the people, and also the administration from the work that they were doing on the world stage, because it created a lot of enemies internationally, because we turned enemies that were supposed to be enemies into allies. And we took a lot of conflict and brought people around the table to solve those conflicts, to create peace. So to us, he's the president of peace. And that takes, and we know war makes trillions upon trillions of dollars for certain, industries that service wars. And so these war efforts are $1 trillion efforts, profitable efforts by the shadow people, these military industrial complexes that exist around the world. However, we're talking about energy units, energy. And so conflicts, nobody makes money. Nobody has economic prosperity. So we need peace in the Middle East. We need peace over in Eastern Europe. We need peace on the planet Earth. We need peace here at home. We need peace in our households. We need love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We don't need any kind of nuclear war. We don't need any more wars, period. We need to get right. We need to get right. We need to get right now. That's what's important. We need to get right, man.
Because of Afghanistan being 1 hour away from where they make their nuclear weapons. So that was a good one. We left, and the way we got out was so embarrassing. And because of that, first of all, 13 dead soldiers. I've gotten to know their families. They're incredible families, but they'll never be the same. Many badly injured, Sarah, nobody ever talks about the soldiers that are badly injured. They talk about 13 dead, and we always have to say that, number one, and great families. But nobody ever mentions the fact that some of the soldiers were hurt so badly, the arms, the legs, the face, like obliteration. We left American citizens behind, and they're not too happy, I can imagine. But if they're living, and we also gave them $85 billion worth of the best military equipment, all beautiful, brand new, between the goggles and the planes and the armor-plated cars. We gave them armor-plated trucks and cars and vehicles and so much. And they're one of the largest sellers now today of military equipment in the world. They're selling this stuff. 777,000 rifles and guns. Think of that. How do you have that anyway? Who would put that? We have 71,000 trucks and cars. And again, many of them armor-plated. So what happened is when Russia looked at that, they said, we're going to invade. We're going to go into Ukraine. If that didn't happen, I don't think, and I guarantee you, if the election were a straight election, we won that election, we should have won that election, everybody knew we won the election, they would have never attacked. Putin never would have attacked. But the oil prices got driven up at $100 a barrel. He made money. He's the only guy who fought a war, and you make money fighting a war. But it got driven up because of their bad energy policies. But when he saw that, and you wouldn't have had, think of this, you wouldn't have had, how different would the world be? You wouldn't have had Ukraine being attacked by Russia. You wouldn't have had October 7th in Israel, where that horrible situation took place because Iran was essentially broke. They had very little money, and we would have made a great deal with them. All we want is we don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. That's all we want. We don't want you to have a nuclear weapon. We would have made a good deal with Iran. They would have been happy. And I think they're going to end up being very unhappy, but it's very dangerous. They're very close to a nuclear weapon. And the other thing, you wouldn't have had inflation. You wouldn't have had inflation because inflation was driven up by their bad energy policy. And you remember your gasoline started going up to $5 and $6 a gallon. And then what happened is they said, oh, we're going to get killed. We have an election. We're going to get killed. And they went back to my policy. So they went back to the same, but they don't, and they say, we produce the same amount as Trump. Well, they went right back to my policy, or you would have been buying, you would have had $25 a gallon gasoline. So they went back. What they don't say is, though, I would have been producing 4 times as much. And I took us from third into first place by a lot. But we have more liquid gold under our feet than any other country in the world, including Saudi Arabia, including Russia. And we would have been so dominant in energy. We would have, we didn't need any energy from anybody. We didn't have to protect any other countries in order to get their oil, which we've done for many years in the Middle East. We were energy independent. Sounds so beautiful to say it. We're energy independent. We were soon going to be energy dominant, and we would have been now having so much money coming out of the energy. We just have the best. We have Bagram in Alaska. They say it might be as big, might be bigger than all of Saudi Arabia. I got it approved. Ronald Reagan couldn't do it. Nobody could do it. I got it done. In their first week, they terminated it. Check that one out. Bagram. Check that one out. Think about this. Between Bagram, you go to Anwar, you take a look at the kind of things that we've given up. We should have that air base. We should have that oil. We would have had a whole different country. But to give up Anwar, to give up the biggest air base, military air base in the world, and they left it in the dark of night with the lights on, and they did leave the dogs behind. There are a lot of people, they say, what about the dogs? They left the dogs behind. But we would have been a much different country right now. But we're going to get it back, and I promise you we're going to get it back with guys like this and people like that. And Sarah, just one thing, because this is the world's longest answer to an otherwise simple question, but the difference is I give an answer that's productive as opposed to an answer that is not very productive, right? Like in the debate. But just to end this, we are going to, for Michigan, because we want to be a little bit Michigan-centric. You used to be the capital of the world in cars. Today, you're an afterthought in cars. And I don't know the head of your union. I've never met the gentleman, Sean. I've never met him. But what he's done to your union and what he's done by agreeing to allow this country to say we're going all electric, which at some point they're going to end up taking back that mandate because that mandate is insane. They want to go all electric basically by 2030. And for him, think of this, for him to do that, just real fast, you're right now at 25% of where you used to be and heading south because the electric cars are all going to be made in China and Mexico, but they're all going to be made basically in China. We are going to bring so many auto plants into our country. You're going to be as big or bigger than you were 50 years ago because they won't be able, if they're not willing to build a plant, we don't want their product. And that's enough. That's all I wanted. And it'll happen fast. It'll happen very fast.
I think it's safe to say that Michigan is happy that you're going to be president again. And Mr. President, we don't mind that you give long answers because you actually have something to say, because you actually got something done when you were president.
You know, it's a very interesting because she said, I don't think I've ever said this before. So we do these rallies, they're massive rallies. Everybody stays till the end, by the way. You know, when she said that, Well, your rallies, people leave. Honestly, nobody does. And if I saw them leaving, I'd say, and ladies and gentlemen, make America great again, and I'd get the hell out, okay? Because I don't want people leaving. But I do have to say, so I give these long, sometimes very complex sentences and paragraphs, but they all come together. I do it a lot. I do it with Raising Cane, that story. I do it with the story on the catapults on the aircraft carriers. I do it with a lot of different stories. When I mention Dr. Hannibal Lecter, I'm using that as an example of people that are coming in from Silence of the Lambs. I use it. They say, it's terrible. So they say, so I'll give this long, complex area. For instance, that I talked about a lot of different territory. The bottom line is, I said, the most important thing, we're going to bring more plants into your state and this country to make automobiles. We're going to be bigger than before. But the fake news, there's a lot of them back there. You know, for a town hall, there's a lot of people. But the fake news likes to say, oh, he was rambling. No, that's not rambling. That's genius when you can connect the dots. You gotta now, Sarah, if you couldn't connect the dots, you got a problem. But every dot was connected and many stories were told in that little paragraph. But there is something, but they say that. The other thing I say is this. We had 107,000 people show up in New Jersey. We had 68,000 people show up in Alabama. We had 79 or 81,000 in South Carolina. And they'd never said, I'm a great speaker. And I said, am I a great speaker? They say, oh no, he rambles. What the hell are all you people showing up for if I ramble? You don't want to show up for a rambler. So anyway, thank you very much.
Mr. President, no one has done more to fight for the American worker than you, to bring back jobs and manufacturing to this country. Tonight, there's obviously a lot of people that really care about the auto industry here. And tonight we have a question from one of the auto workers, Isaiah, here in the audience that would like to ask a question.
Good, sure. Where's Isaiah?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We'll build a brand new beast. We're going to build a beast right here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President, for having us here tonight. I just want to let you know that I've attended one of your rallies. I did not leave early and I did not fall asleep. Just want to let you know that, sir. I did not do it. I did not do it. I didn't see anybody else doing it either, sir. My name is Isaiah. I'm a third generation UAW worker, working hard to build trucks here in America. Yes, yes.
Get ready. You're going to be doing plenty of it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I work for Ford, and you actually came and visited the plant that I work at. You did. And my question to you, sir, is what do you see as the major threats to the future of Michigan manufacturing, auto working jobs, and what will you do to eliminate those threats, sir?
Okay, so I'll get into another little bit of a long answer, because when you say major threat, to me, we have one really major threat. That's called nuclear weapons. We have other countries that are hostile to us. They don't have to be hostile to us. I always say, if you have a smart president, you'll never have a problem with China, Russia, or any of them, okay? I got along great with Putin. I got along great with President Xi. I got along great with Kim Jong-un of North Korea. Everybody said, oh, you can't get along with him. He liked me. I got along great with him, and he has a lot of nuclear force. But you essentially have 5 countries, and you're going to have more. Whether you like it or not, you're going to have more. It's the single biggest threat to the world, not only Michigan, to the world. And you're not going to care so much about making cars if that stuff starts happening. And we have people that are not good at negotiation. The war should have never happened. President Biden, I want to be nice. Yeah, he was so nice to me yesterday, but you know, in one way, I sort of wish the call wasn't made, because I do feel he's so nice. I'm so sorry about what happened and all that, but I have to lay it out. We have very important, and the same with Kamala today. She could not have been nicer. But the fact is, we have to have people that are respected by the opponent, by the other side, by other countries that have this. Even Pakistan has nuclear weapons. We have countries, India has a lot of nuclear force. We have countries that have tremendous nuclear power. And when I hear these people talking about global warming, that's the global warming you have to worry about. Not that the ocean's going to rise in 400 years an eighth of an inch and you'll have more seafront property, right, if that happens. I said, is that good or bad? I said, isn't that a good thing? If I have a little property on the ocean, I have a little bit more property. I have a little bit more ocean. But the fact is that it's a tremendous problem. And we are closer to World War III today than we've ever been. And the difference is, and I say this a lot, this isn't army tanks going back and forth and shooting at each other. This is obliteration. The power of these weapons, and I'm the one that revived it, and I hated to do it. But, you know, we had stuff that was 48 years old. They didn't even know if it worked. We have incredible stuff. So does Russia. China has much less, but they're going to catch up over 4 or 5 years. It's the single biggest threat by far to civilization. And nobody talks about it. They talk about global warming. Used to be, remember? Used to be global warming. You know, they changed the name. You know why? Because the planet's getting cooler now. So now what they call it is climate change, because that covers everything. See, climate change, if it gets hot, cool, you know, these people, I don't know if they're for real, but if they're not, they're covered by the words climate change. If it gets cooler, that's good. If it gets hotter, that's good. Global warming wasn't working so well. But the single biggest threat, okay, now let's assume we have a really smart president, and that's not going to be a threat because we have a lot of power. Doing business with China is a good thing, but you have to have a fair deal. Doing business with Russia, they have so much in terms of minerals and things. The size of their land mass is like 4 times bigger than the United States. The minerals and things they have, we can do great business. And you,
I want to point out something really quick. So he said a lot. It's a long answer, like he said. But here's what's amazing about what he's saying. He said that the single greatest threat to civilization is nuclear weapons. And he said that's the real global warming. And he's getting ready to go into the climate change hoax. Now, this is from the former president who was in office 4 years with all the intelligence agencies, with all of the world leaders. I mean, he got to get credit, right? You got to be, at least for face value, say, okay, you know. So he's being a mandated, what we call a mandated reporter, because that's the job of our elected officials, is to report to the American people the truth. The American people have a right to know, right? So Trump declassified a bunch of stuff, and which allows him to talk about these truths to the American people, because the American people have a right to know, so we can make informed decisions. And so she said, "Well, what is the single?" They asked him, "What is the single greatest threat to the U.S. to the future of the United States?" Well, nuclear weapons. Number one, nuclear weapons. Our policies, our diplomatic policies under the current so-called administration, they're failed policies, man. It's moving us closer to nuclear war. This is why I started off with what just happened over in Russia, facilitated by so-called the Ukrainian army. They was able to strike deep into Russia from developed drones. They had the technology, and they was able to execute, a strike into Russia. Now, what does that mean in the response? And so Trump is telling us, like, look, man, he's broke down all these different nations that has the capacity, the nuclear capacity, from India to Russia to Pakistan to China. And he's talking about the volume and their abilities, what they can do. He's talking about this only one way: obliteration. That's the only thing that's going to happen here. And so it was critical for your U.S. president to have the ability to get along with the superpower leadership, with the leadership of the superpowers, Putin, Xi, Kim Jong-il, and the rest of the world leaders. And he's showing you, look, man, they don't got this ability. Look at what they're doing. These guys left $85 billion worth of equipment in Afghanistan. That was a sign of weakness. So for those that don't understand military language, military conduct, military might, military strength, that was the opposite of it. That withdrawal that left 13 soldiers dead, that left you know, dozens of American citizens over here as hostages. We, like he said, you don't even know if they're alive. It's a mess. The conflict over with Israel and Hamas is a mess. None of that movement happened under the Trump administration. You had 4 years of no movement. No movement. We was the only ones making moves, besides China and others. They was making moves, but they couldn't move. Trump had a chokehold on the industry, man. He understood our leverage, our ability, our leverage position that we have both militarily and economically. He understood that. He understood those pillars, those principles. Why? Why he wouldn't understand? He's a multi-billionaire entrepreneur that has security. He already had a Secret Service protecting him. Is already equipped. He already inherited this knowledge, this wisdom to make America strong again and make America great again in these particular areas. And the rest of the world will feel not only the impact, but the effect, the positive and beneficial effect of being an ally. Come sign up. Come join the United States and the rest of us in a world of economic prosperity, stability, and peace. It started with leadership. It started with might, strength, wisdom, and the will. The will was there. And we get so confused. We let people give us this rhetoric about race and color. It has nothing to do with the issues at hand, bro. This is about nationalism. This is about understanding of your love for country, your love for your nation, your love for the Constitution, your love for your freedoms. This is about freedom. Okay, and so you can't have freedom if you're sitting up here, you know, moving closer to World War III. You're gonna have death and destruction, mayhem. It's opposite of peace. And so we got to have peace and profits. We can't have war and profit. We can have profits and peace, right? And so Trump has just done a marvelous job at even explaining himself in such a way to where we can all comprehend and, most importantly, apprehend. This is very valuable. You're not getting this level of intelligence from any other president. Nobody was willing to talk to you this direct. He was not receiving. Trump is the #1 intelligence agent on the planet. He's able to do it because he declassified the information. His ability to speak directly to the American people on the issues at hand has never been done and never been seen before. Not in my time and era. Not even close, man. Not even close. We got to give honors where honors is due. President Trump, you're doing a marvelous job. He's doing a marvelous job. And we'll go for a few more minutes here.
You keep everybody happy. You can solve that problem. But let's talk about the local problem. The local problem is that you have countries stealing your business. Mexico is a very big one. Mexico, this year, we have a deficit with Mexico of $250 billion. Think of this. With Mexico, little Mexico, you think of it as a little innocent place. We're losing our ass to Mexico. China, you don't even have to talk about. We have over $1 trillion this year. I was charging them numbers that were unbelievable, and now he's just totally given up the ghost. And we're going to lose $1 trillion in deficits to China. $1 trillion. That's not sustainable. We're going to turn it all around, and we're going to do it through taxation and tariffs. It will be done in 24 hours, and it'll change the whole planet. Just so you know, Sarah, China became powerful because they charge. They don't call them tariffs. They call it a tax. They don't call it tariffs. The word tariff is a beautiful word to me, but to a lot of people that don't understand, it's not a beautiful word, because you have a lot of people that are paid off by these countries. They're taking care of these countries, and they don't care about destroying the United States. They want millions of dollars in fees and consultation, but we will, literally in a period of 24 hours, we can change the whole trading of the whole world. They've taken advantage of our country for years. I stopped it. I stopped so much of it. And then we had to focus on COVID. which a lot of people said was put in there for a reason. You know, it came out of the Wuhan lab, which I said right from the beginning. All of you know. It didn't come out of a cave. They said a cave. It didn't come from France. They blamed France. They blamed, I call it the China virus because I like to be accurate, you know? They call it the Spanish flu. They call it all different names when something comes from a country, except for China. We have to call it COVID. What the hell does COVID mean? The China virus. And a lot of people think they did that because they were not happy with me as president. I actually had a great relationship with President Xi. And in his own way, he probably liked me the most, but maybe or maybe not. I saw that Putin the other day endorsed Kamala. And you have to understand, these are major chess players. So when he endorses Kamala, he may say, well, I did that because I love you and it's better to be doing it. So who knows? But he endorsed Kamala, which is a little unusual. I was watching, I said, that's interesting. I think that's a good thing, isn't it? It really is. But look, we have to turn it around, and we can. We're going to have a reciprocal trade tax. We're going to have so if China charges 152%, which they do in a car, if we sell a car made here into China, which you don't do because the tax is too high, they say to all your companies and to others, and to Elon Musk, who gave us, he is a great guy. He gave me the strongest endorsement, and he's a really wonderful guy. But they say to him, we don't want your car unless you build your plant in China. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. That's smart people say that. We haven't said it for many years. I said it. We have a lot of plants going up with Apple and other things. I said, you got to build plants. You don't build plants here, we're going to put the tariffs on your products coming in from China. So we can do it quickly, but we're going to have what's called the Reciprocal Trade Act. Now, I dealt with a senator, a very good senator, actually, but he knows nothing about trade. I said, here's what I want to do, Senator. I want to take reciprocal trade. If they charge us 100%, we charge them 100%. He said, you mean they charge us, we charge them? You got me. How simple could it be? It was sort of cool because he doesn't care. He's a senator, doesn't care about trade, but you know.